Good morning, and welcome to First Parish Kingston Unitarian Universalist Church, where you are welcome. You are welcome whoever you are and wherever you are on your spiritual journey and however you practice your life. You are welcome to ask questions here, because questioning is what we do. Questioning is what we do. Welcome on what is considered to be a low Sunday in church parlance. Sunday after a holiday is often a sparse Sunday, so thank you for making it not sparse. I really appreciate your being here. I have some announcements. The church we are planning to decorate the church after the service, after worship this morning. We are seeking volunteers to stay after worship to decorate our meeting house for the upcoming holiday season. With enough help, the work will take an hour or less. Thanks in advance if you can lend a hand. And next, the December mitten tree. This year we'll be collecting hats, scarves, and gloves, all ages, all sizes, to donate to the Matthew Mission Food Pantry and to offer their weekly food pantry clients. Starting on December 3rd, that's next week, please bring your offerings to Sunday worship to hang on our mitten tree in the front of the sanctuary. And thank you for your support. Finally, Donna Apple. Would you raise your hand, Donna? Donna Apple is coordinating an effort to give baby baskets to the parents of infants aged 1 year old or younger who are at the Pilgrim's Hope and at the Baymont. This project is called Love from Olivia, in memory of Donna's Apple's granddaughter. There was a sign-up genius link in the newsletter this past week, and it will be there next week as well. Items can be dropped off at the Beale House by Thursday, December 21st. Donna, is there anything you want to say about that? Thank you. And this weekend, something's happening this weekend. Something really important is happening this weekend. The fair? The fair. The fair. The fairest fair in this fair land. I can't help myself. That's what I do up here. Friday is set up. Saturday, 9:30 to 2, I believe, are our hours. 9 to 2. And Sunday, after church till 2 o'clock or not? Are you going to clean up, clear out, pay for things, buy things? Sunday till 1. Okay, great. 11:30 to 1. Okay, great. Thank you. Need help with cleanup and setup. Anything else, Deb? Deb needs cookies with all the ingredients listed. With all of the ingredients listed. That's very important. That's very important. See Deb with questions. That it? Anything else? Okay. Once again, good morning. I'm Reverend Judy Campbell. I am the affiliated community minister here. Reverend Emily Bruce is your settled minister. And my worship associate this morning is my husband, Christopher Stokes. Woo woo. Let's take a deep breath. Bring yourselves most fully to this place and this time together. Let all of the leftovers and the to-dos just float away, or at least park them beside you for the next hour. They'll be there when we finish. Let us celebrate this most amazing day.
Come into this place of peace, and let its silence heal your spirit.
I thank you, God, for this amazing day. Therefore, let us
come into this place of memory, and let its history warm your soul.
With the leaping greenly spirits of trees and a blue, true dream of sky, with everything which is natural, which is infinite, which is yes.
Come into this place of prophecy and power, and let its vision change your heart.
Whereby we, with tasting, touching, hearing, seeing, breathing, any lifted from the nothing, human merely being, doubt, unimaginable you.
Let us all together as one celebrate
this
and bless this amazing day.
May it be so. Our opening hymn this morning is, chalice lighting. Once again, our opening hymn is hymn number 33 in the gray hymnal, Sovereign and Transforming Grace. Please stand as you are comfortably able. Come to the time in our service of worship this morning for our joys and concerns. May we open that time by singing the side 1 of the little paper in your pew. In the fern-dense woods among the whispering trees, I pray for the beauty of the earth. In the flower-filled meadow surrounded by fragrant blossoms, I pray for the beauty of the earth. Among the sleek, hungry deer grazing in my own backyard, I bow and pray for the beauty of the earth. Last night, keeping watch with the pearl white moon, I prayed for the beauty of the earth. When I read of the oceans dying as salmon and bees disappear, I pray for the beauty of the earth. Passing a tiny purple weed, shivering in the wind, I shiver and pray for the beauty of the earth. When I look up at the fiery stars and wonder how long we'll be here, I pray for the beauty of the earth. When my heart stops remembering how fleeting and fragile it all is, I pray for the beauty of the earth. Today, clasping hands with a friend's new grandchild, I cannot help but pray for the beauty of the earth. Amen. And this was written by one of my clergy writing students, Carol Martignago, who was a retired minister from Canada. And I meet with her every week, and she writes things like this. Thank you. It is a great opportunity to give for the work of this church. What you give, we will gratefully receive, and I promise you we will put it to good work. Thank you for your kind and generous spirits and pockets. Deb Herlihy, can you come up here, please? A little medical emergency here. Thank you, Tony. That is one of my favorite pieces in the whole world. We're going to take a few minutes, and it's not easy to sing. Let's take a few minutes. Now is a really good time to pray for healing. Do it. We'll resume in a minute. We can do that. Deb, do we need to call an ambulance? Five minutes? Okay. Okay. All right, trusting that her care is in good hands. Deb, thank you. Okay. Chris? Chris has our selected reading for this morning.
The reading is called A Jew in the Christian World, and it's adapted, or rather it's by Candace R. Kwiatek from the Dayton Jewish Observer of 2015. Immortalized in the most popular of Christian folk hymns, Amazing Grace seems an unlikely topic for a Jewish Bible study. The word grace doesn't appear in Jewish vocabulary lists, on informational websites, or throughout indices of hundreds of Jewish print resources on basic Judaism, God, spirituality, Bible, theology, or values. And yet it frequently appears in English translations of the biblical text. According to Strong's Concordance, which is an alphabetical index of biblical words and their citations, the word grace appears 38 times in the King James Version of the Hebrew Bible as a translation for the Hebrew word chen. However, chen, translated as grace or favor, appears in any number of times in the text where it is translated as favor, or occasionally as gracious, precious, or pleasant. In the introduction to Noah, Genesis 6, book 6, verse 8, chen is variously translated as follows. Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. That's the King James Version. Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord, the New International Version. But Noah found favor in the eyes of Yahweh, in the Everett Fox Hebrew literal. The word chen also appears when the estranged twins Jacob and Esau reconcile, and Jacob requests of Esau to accept his gift. If now I have found grace in thy sight, then receive my present, it says in the King James Version. If I have found favor in your sight, or eyes, is the New Living Translation. How can these inconstant translations of chen be explained? The term chen derives from the Hebrew root meaning pardon, favor, graciousness, compassion, and mercy. In a biblical context, chen connotes the unmerited favor of one human towards another, or of God toward humankind. It is numbered among God's principal attributes. Chanon, gracious or grace-giving, in Exodus 34, verses 6 to 7. In both Jewish and Christian Bibles, the use of the word grace always signals God's role as a main character or implies God's behind-the-scenes involvement. However, in Christian theology, grace is the unearned, undeserved divine gift of unconditional love, mercy, favor, acceptance, forgiveness, sustenance, and salvation from God. This fundamental tenet is the cornerstone of Christian faith, memorialized in John Newton's famous lyrics. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. In Jewish thought, grace, more often expressed as God's loving kindness or mercy, is balanced by God's justice. Throughout the Torah is the notion that God's mercy is conditional upon our attempts to act in the image of God, to obey the commandments in their quest to repair the world. In Jewish thought, it is through doing that we open the door to tikkun olam, the repair of the world, and through that we earn God's favor, mercy, and forgiveness. In Christian thought, it is through believing that the door to God's grace and personal salvation is granted, not as a favor, but because we are believers.
Thank you, Chris. And those last two lines are pivotal to what I'm going to talk about now. In Jewish tradition, grace or favor is earned by following the Ten Commandments. And in Christian and humanist tradition and many other traditions, grace just happens. You don't have to pray for it, you don't have to ask for it, you don't have to wheedle, you don't have to do anything other than accept it. And that's where I'm going with this. The word grace can refer to a smooth and pleasing way of moving or polite and thoughtful way of behaving. And in truth, God has very little to do with it. Think of the physical grace of a dancer or the powerful grace of a runner or a gymnast. The noun grace means a sense of propriety and consideration for others. She accepted the grim reality of her situation with grace and dignity. Another noun description, a disposition to kindness and compassion. The winner's grace in his behavior toward the rest of the competitors was exemplary, graceful behavior. Or a verb, to make more attractive by adding ornament, color, etc. The wedding table was further graced with flowers from the bride's own garden. Or she graced the occasion with her beautiful voice and witty repartee. And of course, there's the social graces. These are the skills needed for being seen as a polite and courteous member of society. If you are in someone's good graces, they regard you with favor. And how can I not mention grace, the short prayer of thanks before a meal? Good God, good food, good God, good food, good meat, good God, let's eat. That was the quick one. Or else at camp we'd all just scream grace. Pleasing as they all may be, God in either Christian theology or as individually understood by some has nothing to do with this. These are human attributes. Theologically speaking, grace is a state of sanctification defined as being in complete union and harmony with God, or the divine of your understanding, or at one with the universe, without your asking for it, setting the stage for it, praying for it, or paying for it. But you can be ready to accept it. Grace happens. Grace is the free and unmerited feeling of favor or beneficence. If we get really lucky, the feeling of bliss and union with all existence, which was, is now, and ever shall be. Broadly speaking, and common to many traditions, grace, or more specifically divine grace, is the sudden awareness or profound understanding of goodness or a sublime integration that comes to you without ever asking. That suddenly, without warning, you and everything and everyone around you is in perfect harmony with all existence. The key word is awareness. Last week, Reverend Emily spoke about the importance of the awareness of gratitude in our living our daily lives. When we acknowledge our gratitude for something or for some act of kindness, we can hold on to that feeling and thereby let ourselves be further enriched by it. And much like holding the awareness of an attitude of gratitude as a way of our lived experience, allowing ourselves to be open to the awareness and wonder of a moment of grace without actively invoking it is a decision. It's also an act of courage. Grace happens. It does not need an invitation. It just needs an open place to land, and then acceptance, and then maybe some gratitude. But where do we get our grace if we don't hold a traditional view of a benevolent deity watching over us all the time, just waiting for an opportunity to drop some grace on us? Back to my topic, grace happens. It happens to all of us, mostly when we least expect it. But you've got to be quick. You've got to be aware if you're going to know what just hit you. Many, if not most of us, have experienced a moment in time when we are surprised, caught, stopped in our tracks by a magnificent sunrise or a sunset. Excuse me. I'm going to just pause for a minute. Is there anything I can do to help over there? Okay. I'm going to come back to my sermon. Whoops. No, I'm not. Hold up your hands, please. Send healing energy. Send love. Send caring. Send gratitude for that beautiful voice you share with us. Amen. Thank you. Thank you for being so present with all of this. Many, if not most of us, have experienced a moment in time when we are surprised, caught unaware, or stopped in our tracks by a magnificent sunrise or sunset, or heard a piece of music, Tony, or a line of poetry that takes us to a place we have never seen before, like a flash of understanding that comes into our consciousness without our ever being aware that we were even looking for it. All of a sudden, we get it. Not even what we get, we don't even know, but suddenly, wow. Where the skin on your body seems to melt away and you really are at one with everything. Hang on to that moment, because these experiences are fleeting, but remembering them can be very, very sustaining. I had one of those, and they often happen in company with someone else too, a moment of pure understanding. Have you ever been with somebody and you know what they're going to say next, and you know it just absolute, complete communication, and words not spoken. I had one of those moments years ago when my eldest son, the new grandfather, just had to mention that, was about 14 or 15 years old, and he was getting to be quite a good little guitar player. I gave him his first lessons. I'm a mediocre guitar player, but I really love it. And we were noodling together. We were sitting on the couch in the living room and noodling. And anyone who's a musician knows about, or who plays music knows about noodling. It's just kind of when you're wandering around in a key, and then without ever speaking, we were in perfect harmony. I would take the lead, or he would take the lead. It floated back and forth. The line of melody floated back and forth. And afterward, we looked at each other and we just said, "What just happened?" And he said, "I don't know, but it was cool, Ma. It was really cool." But that was one of those moments. I've been lucky enough to have others, but I also know I can have them. So can you. In other words, grace can happen and we can totally miss it, let it go right over our heads because we're so hyper-focused on the daily round, the to-do list, our own misery. Awareness and a willingness to let yourself be surprised by joy is a really good attribute. How many spiritual practices today, and I'm going to call on you again, Deb, because you know about, and Sally, you know about yoga. How many spiritual practices so popular today help and remind us to be aware? Yoga, Tai Chi, meditation, the practitioners of any sport. You cannot be a gymnast or a runner or a really good basketball player without being aware of your body and the vibe that's all around you. It's absolutely necessary. Think of the Debbie Downers in this world. Nothing good ever happens to me. Damn right. With that attitude, nothing ever will. You'll miss it. But in my opinion and theology, we too can have a hand in our own grace and in shared moments of grace with another human being. We can make it happen. Well, maybe not the one with everything part, but pretty damn close. And not because you're wonderful or I'm wonderful or especially talented at grace giving, but because you are you, and you are big enough to let grace in, to welcome it, to recognize it, and give some away. And the grace we make does not have to be on a grand scale. Any one of us has picked up something someone else has dropped, or offered somebody a seat on a bus or a train to someone who needs it more than you do, or rescued an injured animal, or made an unasked for donation to an organization that helps people, to the unhoused, not because you were asked, but because you were there. This morning, I'm asking all of us to be even more aware than you already are. This is not an easy time to live in right now. We need all the grace we can possibly gather, which means being open to it. As Emily said last week, being aware of little kindnesses, little moments of, oh, that was nice. You know, it may not send you through the ceiling, but it's just that really lovely feeling of acceptance. I'm okay. Practice random acts of kindness and senseless joy. You've heard this before. You've even read it on bumper stickers. Sadly, in many areas of our living, random acts of kindness and senseless joy seem to be a thing of the past or out of current fashion. Out of fashion maybe, but not extinct, and we can resurrect it. One moment of awareness of selfless generosity of spirit can remind another fellow human earthling that they were noticed. We can grace another human being with our own awareness of their being, and thereby be graced ourselves. And that's exactly what happened this morning in the choir. What's her name? Becca had a fainting moment of weakness. You grabbed her. You were not singing, you were singing, focused on the song, but you were also aware of people around you. You did beautifully this morning. You gathered her up, laid her down, got her feet up higher than her head, called somebody to come and get her. That's community, and we kept on going. We didn't fall apart. I'm going to close my talk with a story I found that pretty much says it all. It's by Christian author Paul Timothy Jones, and he's telling a story of taking his adopted daughter to Disney World. And he calls it Because I'm Yours. I never dreamed that taking a child to Disney World could be so difficult. or that a trip could teach me so much about God's outrageous grace. Our middle daughter had been previously adopted by another family. After a couple of rough years, they dissolved the adoption, and we ended up welcoming an 8-year-old girl into our home. For one reason or another, whenever our daughter's previous family vacationed at Disney World, they took their biological children with them, but left their adopted daughter with a family friend. Usually, at least in the child's mind, this happened because she did something wrong that precluded her presence on the trip. And so by the time we adopted our daughter, she'd seen many pictures of Disney World, and she'd heard about the rides and the characters and the parades. But when it came to passing through the gates of the Magic Kingdom, she had always been the one left on the outside. Once I found out about this history, I made plans to take her to Disney World pronto. What I didn't expect was that the prospect of visiting this dream world would produce a stream of downright devilish behavior in our newest daughter. In the month leading up to our trip to the Magic Kingdom, she stole food, she told lies. It got worse. And as the days on the calendar moved closer to the trip, her mutinies only multiplied. A couple of days before we left, she said, "I know what you're going to do. You're not going to take me to Disney World, are you?" The thought actually had never crossed my mind, but her downward spiral suddenly started to make sense. I asked her, "Is this trip something we're doing as a family?" She nodded, her brown eyes wide and tear-rimmed. "And are you a part of this family?" "Then you're going with us. You're a part of our family, and we're not leaving you behind." I'd like to say her behaviors grew better after that moment. They didn't. Her choices pretty much spiraled out of control all the way to Disney World. But once there, it was a typical Disney day. Overpriced tickets, overpriced meals, lots of lines mingled with just enough manufactured magic to even possibly consider, maybe, just maybe, going again someday. In our hotel room that evening, a very different child emerged. She was exhausted, pensive, and a little weepy, but her month-long facade of rebellion had faded. When bedtime rolled around, I asked, "So how was your first day at Disney World?" She closed her eyes and snuggled down into my arms. After a few moments, she opened her eyes ever so slightly. "Daddy," she said, "I finally got to go to Disney World, but it wasn't because I was good. It's because I'm yours." It wasn't because I was good. It's because I'm yours. That's the message of outrageous and amazing grace. Good, wonderful, mystical, even transcendent things can happen to us just because we are who we are, and we dare take the risk of being open to it. But you got to be quick. Blessed be. Our closing hymn this morning is hymn number 205, not surprisingly, Amazing Grace.